My name is Baba Zoumanigui. I was born and raised in Africa, specifically in Senegal, and I'm the general manager of IBM for French-speaking Africa.
Welcome to the African Tech Roundup, Baba.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
And so your name means father in a number of different African languages. What inspired your parents to name you that at birth?
I think that it's a long story, but just to make it short, I was named after my grandfather. And my grandfather was the wise of the tribe. I think nobody called him by his name, by his real name. And because I'm, let me say, to be more personal, my mom lost 4 kids before I was born. When I was born, they decided just to call me Baba.
Oh, that's really well. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, people most of the time ask me, is really Baba your name? I say yes, Baba is my name. I don't have any middle name. It's just Baba.
Now, Baba, thinking of your namesake, how would you explain 2017 and the proliferation of tech and digital to the man you were named after? If you could imagine for a moment.
I can tell you that I lost my dad, I would say, 37 years ago. And I was just in the beginning of my career in the IT world. My dad never understood what IT means. He used to tell me, I think, you only need one computer for the rest of the world. I mean, how do you make a living? I think what is changing right now is that the IT started in the grounds of making things efficient, making things easier, making things faster. I think today the real challenge is that everything we do is trying to improve life. If you try to explain to people that we can predict when it is going to rain, and so that you can do a better agriculture, they can start to understand that. When you tell people that we can diagnose more disease, they can understand that. If you tell them that you can help improve the traffic and transportation in countries, they may not know how, but they do understand that there is a need for it and there must be a solution for it. And I think that back in Africa, and if I were to speak to my grandfather or to my father, I think those are basic things they would understand easily. And I think that we are now not in the business of accelerating things to make them more efficient. We are really in the business of improving people's life in many ways. Africa is about connecting people. And you know that in a continent where, let's say, we lack writing and we communicate, verbal communication is more important than anything else. I remember in my younger years, I used to, I lived in a community where nobody went to school. And most of the time I was asked to come and write a letter to someone. And the big challenge on writing a letter is that they give you the letter in local language. You write it down in English and in French, and then you have to translate from English to French to local language to explain to the person that you have exactly represented what they have told you to say. And I think that today, with 1 billion people in Africa and 400 million telephones, and it's all connections. And people can do a lot by themselves without being dependent on somebody else. So yes, I think that there are some challenges. There will continue to be some challenges, but I think that the years to come will see more and more connection. And as I said, the computer will be your telephone. Your telephone is your computer. There is more power in a telephone today than there was in a computer 20 years ago, and I think that will be a dramatic change in the progress of Africa.
And what area within civil society, say, are you most excited about in terms of technology helping us meet this broader agenda of improving the lives of people?
I think for me is, let's say, as I said earlier, connecting people. Connecting people is absolutely crucial.
So, okay, and again, so unpack that because I feel like it's loaded. I mean, even when you first said it, I feel like it's loaded for you. When you say connection, I like the story you brought in. What do you feel connection delivers the average African who perhaps has up until this point lived without that connection?
I think, first of all, trade and commerce, transfer of money. We know that most Africans, depend on somebody else to send them money, and if you can do it just like this, like the example that we had earlier on Wari or M-Pesa, those are very good examples. I think that the idea of making sure that you connect to your community in any way, the fact that you're not dependent on somebody else, that gives you the level of autonomy to share your message, to share your connection, to share your ideas is also very important. So to me, that's what, for a basic African, that's really what technology brings on a day-to-day basis. Now, I think also at the same time, there is a difference in scale, but there is no difference in nature. What I mean by that is that the African people aspire to the same quality of living as anybody else in the world.
Why do you think that's difficult for the world to understand? Because it almost feels like at many conferences we have to spend a lot of time explaining this to the world, that in many respects Africa is no different in terms of what we aspire to.
I simply think that if you look at the Maslow pyramid, people will tell you, first of all, people want to eat, and second, people want to be secure, and third, they want to develop from an intellectual perspective. I think most of the people in the Western world believe that we are at the bottom of the Maslow pyramid, really at the bottom. All we care about is eating. Being secure, fine. That's, sometimes I'm not even sure that they look at us and believe that we have that aspiration. They don't understand that, Africa is like any other places. And there are people who have crossed the boundary of being eating, of being sheltered or being secure. And now they're looking into being relevant to the next generation of people. They always look at it like, okay, you're the exception, but let's talk about the majority of the people. Yes, maybe we're the exception, but in any country and any society, the exception and the minority are the key drivers of progress. You can take any country. I mean, look at France today. Who would think like, a young man of 39 years old can be a president? Any political, social political book will tell you you have to have a party, you have to have people behind you, you have to be a governor, etc. This is a young guy who almost never been into politics. This is the first election he ever had in his life, and ended up being the president. So I think that breakthrough thinking is lacking, and I think that we African, we have a better job to do to make sure we have a better job to do to communicate and to explain that we have the same aspiration and we have the capability of achieving that.
Within the context of your role at IBM, how often do you battle these issues, or perhaps the stereotypes associated with African markets? Speak specifically to the Francophone region that you speak to. I mean, share as little or as much as you can.
I think, let me put it this way. When I'm in Africa, I don't have to battle it because I'm like everybody else. I think the challenge comes when you start being the only guy in a Western community or an international community. First of all, the question I hate, where are you coming from, and is it your first time in this country? And I ask myself, if they're sitting next to a German guy or an Italian, they don't ask him those type of questions. How is it like home? How do you like it here? Spell your name for me, where your name is coming from, etc., etc. I mean, that's baloney. I mean, I have to say that. The second thing is that people tend to associate the size and the power of your country with, let's say, the level of intellect that you have. Let me put it in context. If you come from United States or Germany or Japan, you must be smart. if you come for, Joe Blow country in Africa, very small country, you must be, I'm not going to say stupid, but not that smart. Okay, and sometimes,
or at best even anomalous in the sense that, hey, you must be the smartest they have.
Exactly, you must be this. You could be the president of that country, and it's really funny because and sometimes I think we African we don't always understand the sense of that message, and some people like you said, I mean, you must be the smartest guy in the country, and suddenly the guy feels like, okay, I'm very smart. That's an insult. I mean, we have to go back and tell them, number one, we are not unique. There are many people like us. And what we just lack is being given the opportunity or grabbing the opportunity and having an open field to go after. And that's really what we're trying to do. But I agree with you that most of the time I have to fight that every day.
And so I want to end with two questions targeted at two very different audiences, right? So the first question I want to ask you is regarding potential investors listening to this podcast, investors who take great interest to realize that IBM is heavily invested on the African continent, who are wondering what on earth are they onto that maybe I'm not, right? What's in it for me, and how do I get in? So you maybe pick a profile, an institutional investor, perhaps slightly smaller, a VC interest, perhaps even an angel investor listening to this podcast, perhaps someone in the diaspora, perhaps someone totally not linked with the continent at all. Motivate the case for joining IBM in terms of being enthusiastic in terms of being enthusiastic about what's happening on the continent and what the potential is from a business standpoint.
Okay. People tend to say that Africa is the last frontier of growth. In numbers, you see Europe at 1%, US at 2%, maybe India and China somewhere around 4%, and Africa somewhere between 6 and 10. There's always exceptions for sure. But having said that, you look at the world today, I mean, the world is global. And there is one concept that I like, which is the concept of globalization. Global strategies and local implementation. There is no way in business that you can, run your business from New York or from without being on the ground and, talking to people. People buy from people that they know and they trust. Regardless of what your message is, you have to be grounded in the deep roots of your market. Okay? And the market is in Africa. Now, the next question you ask yourself, what to sell, where to go. I think that, just look at yourself and look at the evolution of the world and ask yourself, hey, people need to trade, people need transportation, people need to be secure, people need to have access to knowledge, people need to be healthy, and all those fields. I think what technology brings today is that it brings back to the basic at a cheaper price than it used to be before. Take the example of banking. And it is funny in the United States that, they're reducing the number of branch offices. And not only that, if you go 2 times in a branch office, they charge you more. And everything is done in the internet. I mean, so is Africa. I think that nobody has a time to go and sit in front of a banker and just ask a basic question that they can have access through the internet. So my message to anybody who is interested in Africa is to say, cut down all the bias, cut down all the bullshit like, this is Africa. Africa is in the 21st century. And the same needs that exists elsewhere exist at the same place. It's a difference in size, but it is not a difference in nature. Where you will see a market of, $10 billion in the U.S., maybe you'll see the same market for $1 billion. We in IBM, we believe in this continent. We believe in talent. We believe that growth, development is driven by knowledge. and people. And people come up with ideas to develop the infrastructure, governance, etc. The more educated the people, the easier the connections and the conversation and the business. So we have a number of initiatives around that. Initiatives with the government, initiatives with private companies, initiatives. We just launched out of South Africa, which is called the Digital Nation, which is a platform on cloud Bluemix that allow, the target is to have 25 million young generation of African, develop their IT knowledge using that platform.
I have to confess that, I mean, on the African Tech Roundup podcast, I have cast a little shade at initiatives like that, obviously sort of questioning the genuineness of the intent. And after having, many conversations with different people on the subject, I have thought about it and realized that you guys are onto something. Whatever your intent, commercial or otherwise, I do recognize the desperate need we have as a continent that is potentially the first large geographic region to leapfrog a number of major life-changing innovations. How, if we're not equipping our populations to deal with the digital transformations that are going to hit the whole world, not least Africa, if we're not teaching or empowering our populations to do that, then I think we're going to have a serious problem on our hands in that we won't be able to take full advantage of it. And so in that context, I'm sure you'll be happy to know that I'm starting to see things a little differently and a lot less cynically.
Good. No, I think you're in a very valid point. The whole question is that there is no recipe. There is no one thing that will solve all the problems. You just have to look at the spectrum of initiatives and solutions. Some of them may work. Some of them may not work to our expectation. Some of them will fail, but at least we're trying. I think that we have to give credit for developing a number of initiatives around skill development that will help people grow and develop their knowledge and skills. And I think that you're in a valid point by saying that let's forget the hype, let's forget the marketing aspect of that. The question is, we're there and we're trying something. So if everybody would try something, maybe we'll end up with something.
And so finally, the last question I'd like you to address the young, starry-eyed individual, male or female, on the continent who is at the cusp of starting their career within Africa's tech industry. And they would look to someone like you in terms of what's possible in terms of modeling themselves, perhaps in a corporate career or in some other way within the tech industry. What are some of the key things you would pick from your experience as an IT professional at the highest level to speak to someone in Djibouti who has this aspiration, or somewhere small like Swaziland, who aspires to a career and impact that you've had in a career or similar impact that you've had?
Let me put it this way. I think most of the people in the IT world, I would say 99% of them, have a good level of education. Okay, so that this is a given. Whether they're in Senegal or in Swaziland or in New York, the base education is almost the same. The real difference is really the level of commitment, the level of engagement, the level of accountability. I think one of the things I tell everybody is that you have to start with two ideas. One, do what you like. Do something that you're passionate about, and when you do it, you don't feel like you're working. You're doing like you're playing. A soccer player is not a worker. He's playing. Okay? The second thing is that whatever happened to you, good or bad, don't blame it on somebody else. Blame it on yourself. And ask yourself what you have to do differently to succeed. The third thing I would say is I tend to judge people on two things: knowledge and character. Okay? You can have knowledge, but you have to have character. Character means personality, integrity, accountability, willingness to go the extra mile. That's what defines character. But the challenge we have in our society today, and I can observe that in some of the countries, especially in some part of Africa, is the kind of a sense of entitlement. Okay, now it is our turn. We have to get it because, last time it was you, this time it's me. No, that's not the way it's going to work. On the other hand, also, I have an initiative which is in line with your question. I am the champion or the sponsor of woman diversity inside IBM. And you can see that in a region like Middle East and Africa, it is not an easy task. Okay, I think that people have to get away from their bias and walk the talk. I used to have up to 6, 7 female managers reporting to me in all possible fields, whether it's technical support, sales support, branding, marketing, etc. So the point I'm trying to make, yes, those are some of the lessons that I have learned on the field. I believe that the African people have to just believe in themselves and get the job done. That's all I can say.
Baba Zoumanigui, General Manager of IBM Francophone Africa, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.